Thank you, members of DFC and our other guests. Thank you for joining us this evening. We're going to have a very informative speech or rather conversation with Dr. Meghna Pasi, who is a nutritional health specialist. And we would like to thank, firstly, Arogya World. Now, Arogya World is a global health non-profit organization working to prevent non-communicable diseases like, cancer, diabetes, chronic lung disease, heart ailments, and other such health issues through health education and lifestyle change. Just making slight changes can tremendously improve our nutritional health and thereby ensuring that we have a healthy life. And they do this through My Thali, an initiative that is aimed to empower urban women to steer their families towards eating healthy and energetic and be energetic. And My Thali has the potential to help India resolve the dual burden of malnutrition and obesity. Of course, obesity we know is the leading factor in chronic disease, and malnutrition is of course undernutrition. And unfortunately, we oscillate between the two, between the haves and the have not. And so we really have certain challenges ahead of us as a nation, as a community, and how we can help each other, overcome all these problems. And so thank you so much, Dr. Meghna Pasi, for joining us today. And a little bit about Dr. Pasi, she is a nutritional consultant with Arogya World, and she has more than 15 years experience in the public health nutrition field, which is really a very essential field to be in nowadays, more so than ever, because we really have to bridge that gap between our sedentary lifestyle and poor nutritional choices. So let me hand it over to Dr. Pasi. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Rupa. Thank you, BFC, for having us here. Good evening, everyone. And I hope this conversation throws some light on healthy eating and by bringing about minor changes in our lifestyle. So as Rupa has introduced us, we are an NGO, a non-for-profit, Arogya World. Arogya means, in Sanskrit, it means good health. Right, basically it is to live a life without diseases, but in this scenario, in the current scenario, it is quite impossible, to stay healthy or to stay safe, especially during the COVID times. We've seen really bad times. But if you see the data and if you see the numbers, the NCDs have posed a big problem, which is the cancer, the heart diseases, lung diseases, right? So during the COVID, the data showed that those who were more susceptible to the disease, the fatalities or the mortality rate was higher amongst those who were suffering from one or more of such disorders or diseases. And India being a young country, more than 2/3 of our population, are under 35. So that number is huge. And but at the same time, we are now going to be a diabetic capital, which is not a very good news. We are spending a lot on our healthcare, right? So some way or the other, it is affecting our personal as well as professional lives. But it's not that we cannot, prevent it. According to the WHO, most of these NCDs, that is heart disease, diabetes, it can be prevented. 80% of it can be prevented by just adopting a healthy diet, through exercising, and by avoiding tobacco. So it's not that it's impossible. No, we can do it by creating awareness and by adopting a few healthy lifestyle practices. So that is where Arogya World comes in the picture. Our goal is to educate millions in India through a doorstep model. That is where we live, where we work, and where we learn. So we have various programs. We have Healthy Schools program. We have an M Diabetes, wherein we are passing on messages through mobiles, through SMS. We have a Healthy Workplace program where we are trying to reach out to a number of corporate companies by talking to the employees. and trying to bring about change in their eating habits. So because we spend a lot of time at work, so that's the time where, when you're eating at the canteen, you know what kind of food that you should demand for, right? So that's where we are trying to reach out. And then where people live, that is, we are going to people where at home, and that's to you, through social media, through these foodies club. That is where you're listening to us right now. So that's where you're sitting right now at home, and we are trying to impart some amount of knowledge that we have to you, that it's very easy to just bring about some minute changes in your lifestyle, so that you can avoid or you can prevent the risk of these NCDs. So and that's through our My Thali program, right? So before, we everyone has a question that, for my age, for a woman of my age, how much should I eat, what should I eat, right? But before that, you should know that what kind of a lifestyle do you follow. So the WHO has given, categorized our lifestyle into three, that is sedentary, moderately active, and highly active. So there was a study done by the WHO, which and the results denote that, 65 to 70% Indians lead a sedentary lifestyle. So most of us right now, I could say that we are into the sedentary category. So so who are we? The sedentary ones, with there's very little physical activity. Even if you're working at home, cleaning, sweeping, mopping, cooking, taking your pet out for a walk, 30 minutes of a walk around the garden in your colony, but then again, sitting for 8 hours on the laptop, that too comes under the sedentary category. The moderately active ones and the highly active ones are those who are working more than 1 hour, into cycling or jogging or dancing or low intensity aerobic exercises daily. And the highly active ones are you spending more than 2 hours, but those are either the labor community or the gardeners or the ones who carry loads, and working in shifts where factory workers. So that's a very minor population, and even the athletes, the sports persons, right? So our requirements, our body requirements, they are all based on, and the nutrient requirements are all based on what kind of a lifestyle do we follow. So today we are going to talk about the sedentary lifestyle, which most of us are falling into, right? So now coming to now I'll be talking everything about food, because today's conversation is all about food. So this picture that you can see on your screen is a very basic picture. We have seen this in our school times, we've seen this in our magazines, newspapers, so many times, the food pyramid, right? We've all known this picture since childhood. So this picture actually shows very clearly that what you should consume adequately, what you can be eaten liberally, what can be eaten moderately. But this is all in the raw forms. It doesn't tell you exactly how much, right? You know that, okay, this should be eaten less, but less means how much. This should be eaten more, but how much, right? So you need some quantification of the food, so that it becomes more simple and easy for us to adapt, right, and to put it in practice. So and then the National Institute of Nutrition, as well as the US FD, they came up with My Plate. So the NIN, the governing body, the nutrition governing body in India, they came up with this My Plate for the day. Now here they've divided the plate into halves and into some proportions. You can see it clearly that half the plate is fruits and vegetables, right? Then there's a certain part which is more than one fourth, which shows some grains. There's a little bit of fats and oils, and there are nuts and oil seeds, and then there are proteins. But again, here it is not quantified in terms of the cooked food, right? So again, you would have a question that half the plate means how much quantity, how much should I eat? Though they've mentioned in grams, but you can't sit and weigh your food every day on a weighing scale and then eat, right? It has to be made extremely simple. When I tell you that you should eat a handful, or when you can tell somebody that you should have a katori of dal, in some simple measures, and especially which is there, which is told you in terms of cooked food. So if I tell you a katori of rice and two chapatis, I think that makes more sense, rather than saying that you should eat 50 grams of wheat flour every day, or 30 grams of rice every day, right? So everything, when it comes in terms of cooked quantities, it becomes all the more easy for people to understand. So that's where we talk about a balanced diet. So, you've been hearing this term since like years or ages, that have a balanced diet. But what exactly is a balanced diet? So basically, you should know that a balanced diet contains all the food groups. Now, which are these food groups? They are the cereals and the millets, they are the pulses, the dals and the legumes, the veggies and the fruits, the milk and the milk products, the nuts and the seeds, and the fats and the oils. All these constitute, when they are eaten in the correct or the optimal quantities, then they make a balanced diet, because they are able to give you all the nutrients that you require for a healthy living, for your requirement for that particular day, right? So it supplies all the nutrients that your body needs to work effectively, and without which you are prone to diseases. Either you're eating more than what is required, you may gain weight and fall prey to diseases like diabetes, or you're eating less, right? When you're not able to meet the nutrients, you suffer from deficiencies, and there is low performance. So it could be micronutrients, it could be macronutrients, the way you're eating, the quantity that you're eating, and if it's not balanced, that's the time when you fall prey to diseases. So that is where my Thali program started with. So basically, it's a tool, it's a nutritional tool which is based on the NIN guidelines. We are following the guidelines which are there laid out for the Indians, right? And it aims to re-establish the importance of portion. What is portion? Is the food that you eat, right? And the portion means how much to eat. So kind of bringing the two things together, so that which is given to you in cooked quantity. So now, isn't this picture as easy to simple to understand when I put this plate to you, right? So yeah, so when things are like so easily quantified, that you should have half a cup of salad, one katori of dal. If you're a non-vegetarian, you could go for meat, you could go for a chicken curry or a fish meal or any other protein source like an egg curry. And you should have half a cup katori of curd, with 1.5 chapati of chapatis, and one cup of rice, and so much of vegetable. So basically, what we talked about balanced meal is, uh, all those food groups are there in the correct quantities, right? All the food groups, that is, we'll talk about this in details. That is about the cereals and the pulses, the vegetables, and the protein sources. So this is what my thali tells you, that if you have the right portions of all the food groups, you will add up getting the right amount of portion, that is the nutrients what you require. So now I'll just.
Can I interrupt you for just a
Yes,
minute
yes,
over
please.
here?
Yeah, yeah.
So before we go on, talking about the balanced meal or what your thali should be like, I would like to announce that we are going to have a My Thali, My Way contest for our BFC members. The contest begins on January 29th, ends on 5th February. The guidelines and the judging criteria will be posted on our on the BFC page. So please make sure you do go there and take part in the contest, because the prizes are amazing. We are going to have 6 winners, and the first 3 winners, of course, are the grand prize winners, which is 3,000 for the first prize, 2,000 for second prize, 3,000, 2,000 for the third prize, and fourth, fifth, and sixth receive 1,000 each. And these are going to be Amazon gift vouchers that they could use, anytime at their own convenience. So thank you so much, Arogya World and My Thali, for this fabulous contest. And I hope people are listening in and will look at this My Thali and get inspired to show what they are doing to feed their family in a healthy way. Back to you, Meghna.
Thank you, Rupa. Yeah, it was good that you announced this, because this now that you will, the listeners, I want you to pay more attention, so that it will help you to participate in the contest, and it will help you to make your thalis, or whatever the meals that you prepare, in a balanced way, right? So coming back to the components of the thali, that is the food groups. So First, we'll talk about the macronutrients. So what are these macronutrients? They are the carbs, the proteins, and the fats, which are the sources of energy, right? So carbs, the sources are the chapati and the rice that, North Indians have more of chapati, roti, and South Indians, we are more into having rice in our meals, but they are the foods that contain a lot of carbohydrate. So basically, your thali or your everyday's meal, the whole, the total, the calories that you get from the food, 50 to 60% should come from carbs, right? So the division you should know. So, and the carbs, they are found in the grains, in the millets, they're also there in the pulses, and in fruits, and in the roots and tubers like potato, sweet potato, yams, right? What you eat. So, very important to know that you should be having more of complex carbs rather than simple carbs. We all know what are simple carbs. They're all sugar, simple sugars. So don't go in for colas and breads and cookies and chocolates and ice creams. They're all giving you only empty calories and no nutrition, right? On the other hand, if you see the complex carbs, they are, very good sources of other vitamins, minerals, and even fiber. So they are important for reducing the risk of diabetes, for weight management, right? And they also help in regularizing your bowel movements, and in the help of they help in the growth of good bacteria in the colon. So so try and make use of more millets. I'm giving you certain points so that when you're participating in the contest, these are certain tips that you should be careful about. That adding millets to your meals, right? It really improves the nutritional quality. So whether it is ragi or jowar or bajra or maize, rather than going in only for wheat and rice. And if you're a rice eater, then go in for brown rice. Now you have black rice, you've got red rice, right? So there are a lot of other varieties of rice. Now, the difference between brown and white is that the white ones are polished, they are refined, the husk is removed, right? So when the outer covering is removed, the fiber is removed. So basically, you have nothing but the carbs remaining in the rice. So all the other nutrients, the vitamins and the fiber are out, right? So opt for brown rice rather than for the white rice. And even when you're going in for sandwiches, go for these multigrain, whole grain sandwiches for the breads that I'm talking about. Go for millets like bajra. It's winter, so you get a lot of other millets, right? Uh, Go for local and seasonally available foods. So when I talk about vegetables, when I come to vegetables, I'll talk more about that. Right, so this was about carbohydrates because they become our major part of our thali. We can't do without rice, we can't do without chapati. Just having a thali which has only vegetable and dal, we cannot, Indians cannot survive. We are a carbs eating country. There was a start study that was conducted which showed that whether it is east, west, north, or south of India, 65 to 70% out of carbs, it had carbs, and it lacked other nutrients. So it is important that you have carbohydrates, but keep in mind that it should be complex carbs and not simple carbs, right? Now coming to the other main source of proteins, that is, it can come from your dals, it can come from your pulses, it can come from eggs, um, it can come from your paneer, tofu, from fish. Coming to comparing the pulses and the dals versus the milk and the milk products and the non-vegetarian sources of protein. One thing is that the animal sources of proteins, they are known to be complete proteins. That means it contains all the essential amino acids that your body requires, but it doesn't mean that vegetarians will become deficient in proteins. No, you can still have a combination of a cereal and a pulse, right, in your thali, so that you get all the essential amino acids which are lacking in one, so that it complements each other and you can make a good quality protein. So going for quinoa, soya bean, paneer, having curd and buttermilk, very very important. Half a katori of curd, or take it in form of raita or in the form of smoothies in the morning. But it's very important that milk and milk products should become a part of your thali. So these are a few sources that I have discussed. This is all about protein. They are very, very important also for boosting your immunity, because the antibodies that are produced in a body when we are infected by any virus or a bacteria. The bodies that fight against these diseases are made from proteins. So very important that we have proteins in our body. Also very important for the growth and repair of our muscle tissues, which we have, everyone knows about it. Now coming to fats and oils, there are a lot of questions regarding which are good fats, which are bad fats, leading to increase in bad cholesterol and good cholesterol. So first you should know is fats are very, very important. You cannot avoid fats. You should not avoid fats, but you should know that which are the good sources of fats, right? So they are important for cell growth. They are very good sources of energy. They also help in absorption of vitamin, which are fat soluble vitamins. So if you are having green leafy vegetables, which are rich in vitamin A, but if there is no fat source, right? So the absorption of that vitamin will get hindered. So don't go completely fat free. Fats are very, very important, right? But there are the visible ones and the invisible ones. So the visible ones are the ones that we use for cooking. That's the oil, the butter, the ghee, right? The invisible ones are the ones that are hidden inside the food. So all food sources, be it cereals or nuts or spices or milk and milk products, meat, fish, every food contains some amount of fats. So you need to know that, right? And all the invisible ones are healthy fats. The visible ones, they contain the saturated fats and the unsaturated ones. So the saturated are all those available from the dairy products, the milk and milk products, and the animal fats, right? So if you're having cheese, ghee, butter, egg yolk, they contain saturated fats, but not that they are bad, though they tend to raise the bad cholesterol, but you can still have in minimal quantities. And the unsaturated ones are the ones that are available in the vegetable oils, the nuts and the spices, and the tubers, poultry, and the fish. So these are good fats, and they help in increasing good cholesterol. But one tip that I want to give you, or one guideline, or I should say the RDA, the recommended dietary allowance for fat for Indians is only 3 teaspoons, of oil and 1 teaspoon of ghee, which you would feel that, okay, that much I make it in, I use it in one thali or one meal that I make. But the requirement is for the day, okay? And it also includes all the namkeens and all the fried foods that you're eating every day as snacks with your tea for your breakfast, right? So that those requirements are, those 4 teaspoons are also counted in the invisible fried foods that you've been eating. So next time you go for a samosa or for puris or something, for the rest of the day, go in for steamed, baked, boiled, roasted, any kind of such meals. All right. So now coming to the last part of your thali, the last food group, that those are the vegetables. So they are a powerhouse of nutrients, and the daily requirement is around 500 to 700 grams, of vegetables that you should be eating. So how much does it come to? It comes to around 3 to 4 katoris of sabji for the day. So that is why we said that 1 katori of sabji is very, very important, a cooked vegetable, and half a cup of raw salad. So why raw? Because you get more of fiber. Some vegetables when eaten raw give more nutrients. Some vegetables when eaten cooked release more nutrients, right? So that also you should know the type of method of cooking that you use, right? Where the nutrients are destroyed and where you get more nutrients. So if you bake, or if you saute your vegetables, right? Or if you roast, if you pressure cook with the lid covered in minimal water, that's the time where the retention of vitamins and minerals is more. Frying destroys majority of the nutrients, right? Even sun drying. So whatever that you keep under the sun due to dehydration, all the water soluble vitamins are lost, right? So these are a few tips that I'm telling you. Those who are participating, planning to participate, keep this in consideration, that how can you retain your nutrients. Sometimes we feel that we're eating properly, but even the method of cooking can lead to destruction of nutrients, right? So vegetables are very, very important. So make them part of your meals, whether it's in the form of soups, as in parathas, in vegetables, in any other form, in pulaus. So there are many ways in which you can include vegetables in your meals. So this was all about the My Thali, how to balance it, and I hope everyone's understood well. Rupa, any questions?
Yes. So we'll start with the toughest one first, and which is how do we wean kids away from burgers, pizza, and junk food in general?
Sorry, I can't hear you, Rupa.
How do we wean our children away from burgers, pizzas, and junk?
Okay. So first is you don't need to wean them away. Uh, Junk is junk when eaten outside. I would not consider junk if it's cooked at home. So junk can be made into healthy food if it's like baked at home, made at home, right? So I would say if you want to go in for a pasta, a wheat pasta, you now also have millet pastas available. So they are better than pastas made out of maida or refined flour. If you want to go in for noodles, whatever, you have options available. Also go in for the wheat base. Make your pizzas at home. Not that your children don't need cheese. They do need cheese. They do need butter. They need, but in the right proportions, right? So add more of paneer, add soya chunks. That way you can increase the protein content. Yes, but when eaten outside, the major thing that harms them is the sodium, the salt content, which is very high, and the fat that they use. So when you bake something at home, you are bringing down the risk of using trans fats. The fats, the type of
Right.
fats that are used, in bakeries outside. So try and make those things for your kids at home rather than completely, taking them away from such foods.
Right. We also need to tell them that, large organizations that are doing this quick service foods, they're actually dense in calories and unhealthy calories. So, like a McDonald's burger would probably be, one meal with your Coke and your fries and your burger would probably be more than half the amount of calories that you should consume in one day. So it is always nice to try making healthy patties at home. If you bake, that's great, you can bake your own bread, but not everybody has the time. But what you can do is, like Meghna said, choose the healthier alternative and offer it to the children so that they don't feel denied, because weight loss is not what we are trying to look at. What we want to do is just eat what your heart desires, but in a healthy version or
Yes.
healthy aspect of it. So
You know,
uh,
our Yeah, exactly. That's what, that it's not necessary that you have to eat less. You need to eat right. So
exactly.
what is right? That's what you need to understand. So there are various ways in which you can make your food healthy. And instead of colas, there are various other drinks that you can prepare at home, right?
Right.
Something very colorful with a beetroot, something very colorful with watermelon, something very colorful with, strawberries, oranges. I think, that's the way that you can, if I ask my son to have two fruits a day, maybe he'll say, I just had one in the morning. Now I can't have the second one. But if, I'm using oranges, I can add four oranges and make it into a glass of into one glass of juice.
Juice,
So though I
exactly.
would yeah so though I would say that eating or chewing, which will give you a lot of fiber, that helps, but for children you can add them in various different ways. So it's just
So
that you should just know how to kind of play with them and fool them, I would say.
yeah. So the next question is our carbs unhealthy? Should we avoid it completely for people falling under the sedentary lifestyle?
No, carbs are very, very important, right? I said that earlier too. I'll repeat again. You just need to know what kind of carbohydrates are you including in your diet. You need to take complex carbs because complex carbs are a storehouse of minerals. You get a lot of vitamins, you get a lot of fiber, right? They are very, very important because in India we can't stay without carbs, and we shouldn't actually, unless you are on a particular, on a keto diet, or you're going on a high protein, high fat diet, or it's been recommended to you by your dietitian for a particular ailment. Otherwise, carbs are very important and you should be taking it from a variety of sources, not only from rice and chapati. So, roots and tubers, very, very important. Fruits, very, very important. They are also sources of carbohydrates. Pulses, very important. They give you proteins. At the same time, they give you carbohydrates, right? So when we say carbs, I think one thing we have in mind is, it's that it's only about maida, it's only about wheat, it's only about rice. No, carbohydrates are, obtained from variety of foods. So please don't avoid them.
Okay, one more question and then we will move to the next. Any inputs for people who want to follow a vegan lifestyle?
Um, See, I personally wouldn't advise to go, but yes, if you have already adopted, or have made up a mind to do that, there are various other sources of proteins, because one thing that you would lack is proteins, because you're not taking milk, you're not taking milk products, you're not taking any non-vegetarian food. So one place where you would, feel deficient would be your protein sources. So if you are good enough with pulses, dals, millets, legumes, soya to pump up a lot of proteins in your meals, fair enough. Otherwise, milk and milk products, they are also very good sources of calcium, phosphorus, minerals, right, and complete protein. So it shouldn't be that your body becomes deficient in them. So you have to support them by having more fruits and vegetables, by having a lot of other vegetarian protein sources. So if you're able to do that, then go for it.
Okay, so the next two questions will probably lead us into your the next part of your presentation. One of the question was how to cut down sugar rush or control that sugar intake, and what are the alternatives? And second, we had another question is what is a substitute for multivitamin tablets? Now, initially you did mention that, immunity was something that we thought a lot about over this past 8, 9 months or the past year. And people have a much keener understanding and are always constantly looking for superfoods. Now, does that exist? Are there superfoods? Are there truly superfoods? Or is there some special formula to get that superfood and those super nutrients?
Okay, so yeah, so I'll show you the next slide so that it becomes easy for you to understand. Okay, so coming to boosting immunity, especially during the COVID times, we've heard a lot about having kadas and kashayas, and going into herbs and particular spices, and following particular diets, right? So I would say that there is no one superfood, but India is, is rich in foods which are super, I should say. So, so be it our spices, or be it our herbs, even the small amount of ginger that you add in your chai. So basically, I think Indians start their day and end their day with superfood. So I should say our, all our meals are super meals in a way that they help in boosting immunity. So first thing I would say is don't skip your meals. Okay, only if you have an ailment where you're not supposed to eat certain food groups. Otherwise, kindly don't skip your meals. So the three major meals of that's your breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Very, very important. Dinner should be light, right? It could be khichdi or bisibele, or a combination with curd and rice and dal and rice with some vegetable, because you're not going to have any other physical activity after dinner time. But your breakfast should be protein rich. Your lunch has to be kind of a balanced meal with all the food groups, including a protein source. As I told you, proteins help in building antibodies. So very, very important. Then coming to snacks, we every time we around 4 to 5ish this time, people would be having a cup of tea with some chips, some biscuits, right? Some namkeens. Instead, go for some sprouts. Go in for a handful of nuts, right? Go for some chana, for some peanuts, so that you can decrease the caffeine intake, and include a lot of complex carbs. Again, I told you earlier that they are rich in a lot of minerals, so do not avoid them, and make your plate, half of your plate colorful with a lot of fruits and vegetables. They are rich in antioxidants. You would have heard this many a times. Antioxidants are the ones which help in boosting our immunity. So very important, at least 2 fruits in a day. When should they be eaten? Generally before the meals. That is, I would suggest that should be either at breakfast or in between, mid morning when you're hungry around 11ish, when you want to munch on some some chips or some biscuits or cookies that you're working around and you want to eat, or you're on the laptop and you want to munch on something, that's the time when you should have your fruits and a handful of nuts. So nuts are very, very important, packed with heart-friendly MUFA, that is monounsaturated fatty acids. They provide flavonoids and antioxidants, which are so protective against cancers, heart diseases, Alzheimer's, and viral and fungal infections. And they are a storehouse of all the minerals. So these are a few things that I want to mention. So throughout the day, and at the end, during bedtime, we generally say have haldi wala doodh. So what is haldi? Again, containing a chemical compound. It's a spice. So right. So curcumin, you get gingerol from ginger. You get allicin from garlic. India is a country of spices. So be it nutmeg or fenugreek or dhania or mint or tulsi, coriander. Uh, every day I think we have a mix of these spices in our curries, in our chai, right? Even in our desserts. So I don't think that there is one superfood that will help you out, but having a combination of all these throughout the day. So having a bedtime haldi wala milk, now they call it a golden latte or something, that they call it in the West, right? So before they patent it, I think we should start doing it, and we've already been doing it since generations. So right, so very simple, I should say. Balance your meals and don't skip your meals, and very important that you include all this in your meals. So I think a nice Indian home cooked meal in itself is a super meal, I should say.
Great. Thank you
Yeah.
so much. That was so informative. There's one more question which relates, and we've had several of those type of questions, so I will ask it again here. And you did suggest maybe you could give, elucidate a little bit more about that. Is how can we curb the sugar cravings at snacking times or during snack time? A lot of people have this urge to eat something sweet. So what would you recommend to help curb that, or at least satiate them, that they don't feel that, okay, 15 minutes later they're going to head for that cookie or candy or some mithai?
Right. So, as I told you earlier, sugar, those cravings are mainly when you're stressed out, or, when you're hungry between the meals. So, going for 2 cups of tea or coffee, one in the morning, one in the evening, that's okay. Not that you need to stop them, but yes, you can minimize the intake of sugar by, by trying to practice having a little less every time, a little chini come, as they say. Even the FSSAI now recommends that go in for a little chini come. And I would say that don't completely refrain, or stop yourself from going in for laddus or jalebis, or once in a while. We Indians love sweets, but if somebody gives me a whole laddu, I would just take a bite and feel satisfied. But yes, if you want to not have sugars at all, then going in for sprouts, go in for nuts, munch on chana. During snack time, have lemonade, nimbu pani, right? Go for coconut water, go for buttermilk. These are various ways in which you can avoid tea and coffee, right? Go for even during lunch, even during your meals, if you want some sweet in your plate, go for some apple cinnamon raita. Add more spices, like elaichi, that would enhance the taste. Go in for dates, go in for figs. These have natural sugars. Add fruits to your meals. So even if you're baking something, or even if you're making a pudding or cookies, adding more fruits will definitely enhance. Like, we've already done the sugar contest. I think you guys were amazing. So I don't need to recommend more, because you guys came up with such beautiful healthy recipes, which were all made out of sugar alternatives. So yes, but one thing I would like to make clear is that, be it sugar or jaggery, they give you equal amount of sugar. Okay, so don't get carried away saying that I'm not having sugar, I'm going in for jaggery. No, jaggery, yes, the way it is cooked, the way it is prepared, I would say the production, that's the time where the process is very different. So the molasses are not removed, and that is the reason why it has some amount of minerals. It has some amount of fiber, which is very, very minimal. You know, you cannot meet your daily requirement by having jaggery. Otherwise, you'll have to have like 200 grams of jaggery every day, which is not possible, right? So I would say yes for certain ailments like cold and cough, and if you add jaggery to your ginger and make it into a paste and have it, and that's still okay, because Ayurveda says you should have jaggery as a medicinal form. But replacing jaggery, in place of sugar is a no, because they give you equal calories. They are sugars basically.
Right. Great. Thank you so much. And I think this is the end of our presentation for today. If there are any more questions you would like to ask, there are people who've also mentioned that they're consuming more millets in the week. How would you recommend people to, up that millet quotient in their meal, whether where are ways that you can slide it in and increase the nutritional value of the meal that you are going to be having?
Right. So have at least one millet meal in a day. That I
Oh,
would suggest. One millet. So it could be in the form of ragi mudde, or it could be in the form of, adding millets to your idlis. I've started adding the ragi atta into my chapati, because sometimes, the texture and the property of the millets are very different. You cannot roll them out. Like if I try to make only a ragi roti, it's a little difficult. I can't make a only bajra roti. I need to like make it into thick rotlas, what we call it in Gujarat. This is winter time, so you get various vegetables. You've got all the greens available, so this is a very good time to include millets. So it could be in the form of millet khichdi, right, in the form of chapatis. Add the flour. So instead of going in only for bajra or only for jowar, you can mix the wheat flour, so that you can make it into a multigrain chapati or a multigrain paratha. So I think in a way it is good to introduce it even in your with your kids, so that they don't feel that the color has changed or the texture has changed, or I'm not liking the taste. So in a way, kind of just changing the proportion, and that's the way you can incorporate even in your dosa batters. It's quite easy to have it in your chilas, right? When you make besan chilas. So I think there are various ways, even in your cookies, in your cakes. So, but the proportion has to be in such a way that, see, wheat has a property of elasticity, and that's because of the protein that it contains, right? And that's the reason why it is so, you can roll it so easily. You can knead it into a dough so easily. It is very elastic because of the protein gluten. So, but the various millets, they don't have it. So that's one reason that it becomes, yeah, yeah.
so this is the last question, and we will have to wrap up because we are
Oh,
running out of time. But it is an essential question, and I think we must answer it. Is can we mix millet with rice? So while you answer that question, I will go ahead and thank all our viewers today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for your appreciation. Thank you for your likes. Thank you for your questions, and I hope you will take part in the contest. The contest guidelines will be up later this evening. So do take a look at it and do participate. I think this will be really exciting. And thank you, Dr. Meghna, for really taking so much of time, and your presentation, especially your PowerPoint presentation, was so succinct and it was to the point. It is going to be really helpful. And we will have this available recorded for our BFC members to watch whenever they have time, for the ones that were not able to join us live today. So thank you so much, Arogya World. Thank you, my Thali. And of course, thank you, Dr. Meghna. And you can just wrap up with this question. Can we mix millet with rice?
Yes, you can mix millets with rice, because both are carb sources, both are grains. You can do that. Do it in different ways. I mean, but yeah, if you're used to dal with rice, that's a different thing. But you can add them in your bisibele rice, where you have a combination. You add it in your khichudis, you add it in your pulao, right? So there's no way that you can, even with akki roti, right? So the way you want it, there is. The more innovative you are, just keep experimenting. And yes, but millets are a yes. You should be going in for millets. Go in for local and go in for seasonal. Eat, I would, yeah, for those who are still listening to me, this is one thing that I want to stress. For those in Bangalore right now, what is in the season, eat what is in the season. There are few vegetables that are available 365 days, few fruits that are available 365 days, but there are special fruits, there are special vegetables that are available only in this season. So make the most of it. Make the most of it, I would say. So go in for greens. You have lovely greens available in the market, right? Go in for carrots. This is the time when your body starts storing in a few nutrients in your liver, and it will utilize it later when there is these nutrients are not available. So yeah, that's it from my side, Rupa.
Yes,
And all the
thank
best
you.
to all the participants, and yeah, hoping for a wonderful participation this time also.
Yes, thank you, Ronak. I really must appreciate Ronak that he has taken, such great pains in, bringing food knowledge to us. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Ronak. Thank you, BFC.